All right, welcome back. Now, with the budget running into millions, the government, of course, without a doubt, needs to raise enough money to cater for its developmental needs. Question, where will the money come from? Well, the government decided to introduce the VAT law that led to a 16% increase in price of basic commodities. Being the Kenya we are, unscrupulous traders have so far taken advantage of the VAT Act, to raise prices of commodities exempted from the tax. So far, it has been a nightmare for consumers, as many cannot afford some very basic, essential goods. Yes, the president has warned those unscrupulous traders and has called for the clarification of goods exempted from the VAT tax. However, CORD members want more. They want the law amended. To tell us more about that particular move is Chris Wamalwa, who's the Kiminini Member of Parliament. Honourable Chris Wamalwa, welcome to the Power Breakfast Show for the third time, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Perhaps you could give us the details of the content of the amendment. You want the VAT law amended. Give us the details.
Thank you. Maybe before I go into the details,
yeah.
Maybe first and foremost, I need to explain why maybe the Jubilee government decided to bring this aspect of the VAT law.
That's right.
When you look at the budget of this country, it was 1.6 trillion, and indeed the government needs money to fund this. And one of the issues that the Jubilee government did was to bring the VAT law, and the objective was to raise 10 billion. To me, I think it was not the right thing, because from research we are told that 30% of national revenue goes into corruption, and if you convert that 30%, it's equivalent to almost 300 billion. So instead of bringing the VAT law to hurt many Kenyans for purposes of raising only 10 billion, the government should have strengthened bodies like the Auditor General, the Anti-Corruption, at least to seal the loopholes of corruption. At least it will have been in a very easy way to raise, if not 300 billion, maybe 20 billion. So it was a wrong thing. Now, coming to the VAT law, first and foremost, we need to understand the difference between tax exempt and zero rated. Because it's been in the public domain that many business and scrupulous business people have increased the prices. But actually, that is very wrong. And last time when we were in Mombasa, during the MP's workshop, I raised the issue with the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Treasury. And indeed, I told him, you should tell Kenyans the difference between tax exempt and zero rating. The difference is like day and night. What happened to the VAT law? Some of the basic commodities like flour, let's say milk and bread, when you talk of tax exempt means the final product, you don't add the VAT, which is true. But again, before this final product comes into being, it has been transformed. It has gone through processing. Yeah. Look at, for instance, someone making mandazi to sell in Kibera. Wow. This mandazi, you must have used flour, you've used sugar, oil, and these inputs, if at all they are attracting tax and gas. Absolutely. Yeah. If they are attracting that tax, it comes to the total cost. Yeah. And as a businessman, I need to make some profit. So if I get the total cost, assuming this mandazi, I'm selling that 50 shillings, okay? Maybe my inputs are 40. So I add 10 shillings to make a profit.
Absolutely.
But now if the government brings taxation, adds tax on the inputs, it makes the total cost to go to 100. But I still want to make my 10 shillings. So I'll add the 10 shillings for the price to become 110. Yeah. So the blame here, it is the VAT law. It's very shocking when you see members of parliament coming to debate that unscrupulous business people have added the price. But this is very wrong. So it is important for the Treasury to come out clearly, and even the Jubilee government, to tell the Kenyans, why is it all of a sudden the prices have gone up? When you go to Nakumat, when you go to Uchumi, these are not unscrupulous business people. But what you're buying a product here, the price has gone up, you need to make a profit. So when you talk about tax exempt and zero rate, is totally different. And what the CORD government is doing, I mean, not the CORD government, sorry, the CORD coalition. Yeah. But you know, a government today is opposition tomorrow. And opposition today, maybe you're the government in waiting. So what we put in place is to cushion the poor Kenya. Because like flour is processed. Many people in Kenya, many people in the villages, they are using processed flour. People don't go to, in the villages where you go to that that meal at home. That is the one you are talking that it's not attracting anything. But when you go to Pembe or Unga, they buy maize. Maize is coming in. They have to process that maize. They need water. They need electricity. These are attracting tax. So in the long run, the total cost producing that packet of unit has gone up. And as a businessman, you have to put up the profit margin. So what we should do, or what we are planning to do, instead of tax exempt, we want it to be zero rated.
Which means what?
Now, zero rated means these inputs that are coming in to produce these basic goods, we are not going to put tax on them. And what the government has been doing, such business people, once they do this, they are given what you call a tax refund. The tax is refunded. So this helps in the sense that the total cost for producing that particular unit goes down. So they'll still add their profit margin on top. The same way I had explained. Let me repeat for purposes of simplicity to the people who are viewing. I'm assuming this is a packet of unga.
Yes.
Okay? Mm-hmm. I don't want to go into more of academic work, because to get the price of a commodity is equals to total cost plus the percentage of the profit margin. Mm-hmm. So if my total cost to produce, assuming this is a packet of unga, mm-hmm. assuming it's 50 shillings, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And I want to make a profit margin of 10 shillings. So if this total cost is 50 shillings, I'll add my profit margin of 10 shillings, mm-hmm. then I'll sell at 60. Okay? This is a situation whereby the inputs are zero rated. But when you talk of tax exempt, here the inputs are attracting taxation. For example, to produce this maize, I'll need maize, I'll need electricity, I'll need water. All those taxations, instead of the total cost now coming to 50, maybe it'll come to 100 shillings. But now I still want to make my profit margin of the same 10 shillings. So I'll add on top of 100 shillings, the 10 shillings. So I'll be able to sell it at 110 shillings. I'm making the same profit margin. So the important thing is for Kenyans to understand the difference between the tax exempt and zero rated tax.
Yeah.
This is where we've had a confusion, and this is where we've seen our colleagues from the Jubilee side saying, no, these basic goods, I thought they were tax exempt. How comes they're going up? So again, when such bills come in the floor of the House, it's also important for sensitized members of parliament to understand some technicalities, because not all of them come from the same profession. We might have engineers, we might have medical doctors, we have lawyers and ABCD. But once we understand these critical technical aspects, then you can be able to debate from an informed perspective.
Yeah, I mean, recently we had accountants coming out and saying, you know what, the VAT law in itself, it's actually profitable. It makes economic sense. It's just that we've been brought into the field of political propaganda. That's why it looks bad.
I'll challenge those accountants. I'll challenge them in this way. Such an issue, yes, I agree with them, it works. But it works in a given economy whereby you want to subsidize on the side of consumption. For example, the objective of the Jubilee government, why they decided to come up with this, there was an issue of tax refund. That there were a lot of corruption cases maybe at KRA, and many business people, or whoever, they are trying to cook to make money out of those tax refunds. So the government was trying to do away with that. Yeah. So that one has also a merit. But when it comes to what the accountants are saying, the government can subsidize on the production side or on the consumption side. But looking at Kenya being a poor country, we are more on the consumption side. So it becomes difficult to subsidize 70% of Kenyans or on the consumption side. So it makes a lot of sense to subsidize production as opposed to consumption. So in other jurisdictions or different economies, what the accountants are saying, let's say you are in let's say in China, or you are working in a country where the GDP growth is high, where the dependence rate is not high, that one will work. But for Kenyan situation, it cannot work, because majority of Kenyans are poor. So you cannot come and subsidize 70% of the population. It becomes impossible.
Tyranny, the Commissioner General, he was interviewed a few nights ago by Citizen TV. He said our rate of 16% is not much. There are some countries that have much. In fact, he was talking about East Africa, or the region, or other countries. 16% is not much. There are some 18, 20. Is that reasonable?
Now, I think my answer to Tyranny, in decision making, before you make any decision, you have to use a model called cost-benefit analysis. You must do a cost-benefit analysis. Now, if you do a cost-benefit analysis with the 16% that he's talking about, look at the Kenyans. They are crying. Look at the benefit of bringing the 10 billion and the effects or the risk of many Kenyans going to bed without food. It's going to lead to cases of insecurity. So really, the benefits cannot outweigh the costs. So whatever Tyranny is saying, it is working in the opposite. But in different economies, it can as well work. So Kenya, for instance, when you talk about the 16%, Kenya is a poor country, okay? But if at all, Kenya, majority of the Kenyans, they live below the poverty line, which are surviving on $1 per day, as per the World Bank interpretations. But if at all the economy was doing pretty well, whatever Tyranny was saying could hold. But currently, in Kenya, that argument cannot work.
So far in your statements, you've called Kenya a poor country. And I'm thinking, what is your proposal? Amendment or more of abolishing the VAT law altogether?
No, to me, it is amendment. We need to amend the VAT law so that those basic goods, those essential goods that a common Mwananchi is using, instead of them being tax exempt, they should be zero rated. But unfortunately, we've just passed this about 2 months ago. Again, it becomes a problem when it comes to amendment. Because when you look at the standing orders of Parliament, when an issue has been debated and resolved, you have to wait for a window period of 6 months. We've only done the 2 months. But I'm sure, with the wisdom of our Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, I'm sure when you look at the standing order number 49, section 2, it allows him, it gives him powers to exercise discretion, and if it's something of national interest, to bring that amendment back.
Let me ask you this, Mheshimiwa. Since Parliament passed the VAT, after haggling for your own interest, then all of a sudden, all of you blindly decided it works. You passed it. It's not a Parliament of Tanzania that passed this thing.
And then all of a sudden you decided.
It is you, the same. You want an amendment. Were you asleep?
Mr. Mutegi, thank you for that question. It's actually very important. When Mheshimiwa Lagarde, who is Benjamin Lagarde, who is my very good friend, who is the chairman of the Finance Committee, when he moved this, the bill, I was among the first people to speak, and Hansard will bear me witness, and I opposed it. Then I left for Mombasa because our budget committee were going to Mombasa. You know, our National Assembly, we have a tyranny of numbers from the Jubilee side.
It doesn't matter.
Let me explain. Let me explain how the tyranny of numbers comes in.
Yes.
Okay, when this issue came up, actually they had a parliamentary group meeting at State House, and it was explained to them that the government needs money, and the objective of bringing this law is to generate the 10 billion. And they told them, for us maybe to exempt the poor, let's allow maybe unga ya uko ushago, which is not being processed. But when we came to the floor of the House, it was a mindset that my government or my coalition wants this. It was not debated objectively. But now, having passed the law because of the tyranny of numbers, the other side, I'm sure you're aware about the Political Parties Act. In case you don't toe the party line, the party can do what? Can de-whip you. You saw in the Senate, Mheshimiwa Boni Khalwale was de-whipped. And many members of parliament, they fear that. They don't want to be de-whipped. You want to be on the committee, you want to be ABCD, you don't want to be de-whipped, okay? So when they come to the floor of the House, some of them, not all of them are for it, but because you don't want to be de-whipped, you don't want ABCD.
De-whip means what?
De-whipping, for example, the party, if it whips you, it removes you from the committee. And not through that committee that you get some small allowances. You see? So when such an issue comes, again, you don't want to be, and again, you don't want to be against the government, because here you are part of the coalition, and the government comes with goodies.
I thought also Jubilee people were saying they want to amendment.
Absolutely. Now, after seeing the Kenyans crying, is when they have realized, oh, we were wrong. Are you seeing? So it should not be just an issue of loyalty to the party, but you must demonstrate that we are there for Kenyans. We are